every conversation tells a story, and the best ones begin with honesty, courage, and a little curiosity. That's where Elsa Kurt comes in. She's an author, podcaster, and independent media personality, and this is where she brings real life to the table. Authors, thinkers, creators, leaders, everyday folks with extraordinary journeys. We sit down, we dig in, and we talk about what matters, what's messy, what's beautiful, and what just might inspire you to look at the world a little differently. So pour a cup of something good, settle back and join me. This is Elsa Kurt Interviews, where truth has a seat and everyone's welcome.
Oh, well, hello, friends. Welcome back for another episode of Elsa Kurt Interviews. Today, I have a fabulous guest. She is coming on the show for a thoughtful conversation about creativity, discipline, storytelling. Oh, and of course, her book series and so much more. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So to start us off a little bit, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself and your journey, particularly your journey to becoming an author?
Well, I was one of those type of girls that wanted to try everything. So I kind of bounced around quite a bit. I did go to, I went to college, but my brother went to college out of state, and eventually my dad couldn't pay for both of us. So I ended up joining the military to get the GI Bill. Mm-hmm. And I ended up in Germany, got my college bill, my GI Bill. And then after Desert Storm, I was in Desert Storm, but not in Iraq. I was in Germany because we were on a military intelligence base. I got out, went to A&M on my GI Bill. And then I ended up in San Antonio, Texas, because I'm not a big fan of snow. And home was Buffalo, New York. And from there, I met my husband, married my husband, and I got into teaching because that's just more cooperative with having children. I mean, he came with an already made family with 3 kids. Now we've been married 30 years. We do have a 22-year-old son. And from teaching, I went to be a principal. And about 7 years ago, maybe, I wrote a proposal. I live in a small country town, and I do see a need, especially in the last 10 years, the need for a different pathway for students who have trouble for whatever reason. And during COVID, there really has been a shift with students. There's a large increase in anxiety and those kind of things. And so I put in a proposal for an alternate school for kids who fell behind in credits, so they could still get their diploma in maybe a non-traditional way. So I am a principal of that now. We've been in business for 7 years, and I have waiting list because it's not a shortcut for kids to get out of school early. It's a way for kids to catch up and graduate, especially if they have extenuating circumstances. Some of our kids have medical issues, could be anxiety. We had a student with really severe diabetes. And she had to wear an alarm on her whenever her blood sugar went low. We had one with cancer, things like that. Other kids who end up having kids, and of course, they got to work to support them. Everyone has a different story. But we have over a 90% graduation rate, so I'm very happy, and a pretty good record of what they do afterwards. They become productive members of society.
That sounds so incredibly rewarding. And I have so much admiration for that specific journey. Multiple parts, as we talked about before, when you were telling me a little bit about what you do. My first thought was, wow, I was a kid that really could have used somebody like you in my learning journey. And I would imagine, and the other side of that is I have spoken to people who have wanted to or tried to or are in the process of starting a school. And there's a lot to do with that. It's very, very involved. So you were gracious to downplay, I'm sure, how much work went into making this happen. So it's a real beautiful testament to your dedication to bettering the lives of kids that just need a different approach. So I love that you do that. Thank you.
They do need a different approach. And I always tell them, well, you'll be taking care of me when I'm in the nursing home. So I want you a little bit better educated.
I bet they will do it too. I bet they will. I
I,
suspect they just adore the daylights out of you, don't they?
they're pretty good. They're pretty good at it.
I bet they're
So,
over in the corner nodding yes.
yes.
We could
You're
sit here and have a really fun just conversation, could we? But I will get
probably
back on
so.
track.
Okay.
So tell me what first inspired you to start writing? And I'm always interested in that as a fellow writer. I always love hearing other people's journeys. But what inspired you to start writing, and how did you know this was the right time to release? Or I should say, when you first released your first book, how did you know it was the right time?
Well, I tried many times and I never could get started. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm,
couldn't come down with how do I even start? And so
sure.
then you just give up. And so it's kind of an emotional story. So bear with me. A second cousin of mine ended up killing herself as a young
Mhm.
girl. And her mother, my cousin, shared her diary with me because with this school, then these kids all with their stories, it's not that uncommon. It's not uncommon for any regular school. And it certainly is not uncommon in my school. And I've had kids with issues with cutting themselves or attempting to hurt themselves seriously. And then the past year before I started writing the book, I had two friends lose their children to suicide. One, I consider myself friends with the mom, but he was the best friend of my son. And I mean, I feel like I helped raise him because he was around for so many years and I took him everywhere, with DJ if DJ wanted him to go. And that is his mother was, I used the parent's name as the author to that book.
Oh,
It's actually this one. Lisa was his mother. And
yeah.
then the other Clark was one of my good friends from high school. His son committed suicide
Wow.
and it was devastating. And so that's where the last name, it was my tribute to them.
Yeah. Beautiful tribute.
And, but I mean, I wanted the book to be about the book. I haven't advertised it. Like the publishers will send out Facebook notices or whatever
Sure.
and Twitter in them and X. I don't do that.
Mhm.
And I told them not this one. And I don't really make any money on it. So it's not, because
Mhm.
it's not about that. And
Sure.
like, I didn't put my picture or anything on there.
Mhm.
I wanted to be completely about that topic.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
I get
know
that.
if it would be one for kids to read because the ending, of course, isn't that happy.
Mhm.
But it's good because all these years working with students and this, I don't understand. I
Yeah.
don't understand what goes through these kids' heads. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Um, my own granddaughter struggled with uh, suicidal tendencies or thoughts
Mhm.
or whatever. And so, and she has a good life, I don't understand it. And so
Right.
I read her journal and it's like, oh my God, that's what they think. Oh my God, it's
Mhm.
constantly in their head. And I
Mhm.
thought, you know what? I can incorporate the story of all these different students and kids I've known into this one character. Of course, it's going to resemble the girl, my cousin, because it's her diary. It's going to resemble
Sure.
somewhat mostly to her, but I put characteristics to each student that I knew in there.
Mhm.
And maybe it would help parents understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
where
It's
it
so
all
tough.
started.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that is a very intense start to it. And part of me wonders, like, that had to be also kind of draining too. Like, once you pour so much of that out, did you need time before you started writing the next work or the next manuscript, just to
Um,
I don't know, take a break from that, or was that like a catalyst for you
it
to
was
write more?
it was more of a catalyst.
Yeah.
That first book was like a calling. Like I couldn't
Hmm.
get it out of my head. When I went to the funeral for my son's friend, it just completely destroyed me. Because you see your son laying there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Of
And
course.
I
Of
just
course.
empathize with the mom. Oh my God, how could you? How could you live through something
Yeah.
like that?
Hmm.
And it really affected me and emotionally. And so then when I was done with that, it was very therapeutic because my mom died last year, just a few months before that. And
Mm.
it was very therapeutic, because I can say I've gone through most of my life without having to deal with too much death, and for me to understand and
Sure.
to adapt, I guess. And I thought, when that's going to help maybe other parents, maybe, hopefully, that's my hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've
I'm
had a
sure
few
it will.
people, what do you call it? Rate it on
Mhm.
Amazon, and it was very encouraging. So
Nice.
if it
Oh,
helps somebody, then I'm happy.
I love that. I love the spirit that you wrote that in. That's beautiful. Your book series is quite a different lane than that one, right? Like totally different day and night. Let's talk a little bit about that. The name of the series, it's the Witch series, correct?
Yeah,
Is that right?
we just call
Okay.
it the Witch series.
The Witch
Um,
series.
so since my mom passed last year, I go with my dad on vacation, or I do the things he used to do with my mom.
Mm,
He has these little annual things he used to take her to all the time. I fly up there sometimes for the weekend just so I can go with him, so he's not alone, to go to
so
these things
sweet.
he took my mom to. And
Mhm.
one of the things was vacation. And so I picked it, and it wasn't originally in my mind to go here, but I was going to, he wanted to do a train ride. So I booked a train ride to Boston, which was fantastic.
Mhm.
And then I found out that Salem was only like 15 minutes from Boston. And I'm like, oh, Dad, we got to go to Salem, you know? And because anything, which I like it. And so
Mhm.
we did. And I just found it so fascinating. I just loved it. Now, it was the
Mhm.
summer. If you go or anybody else goes, I would recommend October. But of course, it's going to
Mm.
be much more busy and much more colder.
Oh, yeah.
But it was fantastic. And I went, and I was a former biology teacher,
Mhm.
both in high school and junior college. And so I believe in the sciences, you know what I'm saying? But I also believe in a lot of the herbal medicines,
Mhm.
because, the medicines came from somewhere. And
Right.
uh, so, like willow bark tea, that's has the
Mhm.
same component as aspirin. And so it does work as a pain reliever, and that's what they used to use. And so I do believe in a lot of these natural remedies. And you probably know, as you get older, you try to
Mhm.
get away from so many chemical pills or
Yeah.
manufactured pills, and you want to use more natural stuff. So doing the research that I was doing on the witches, I learned a lot more of that kind of thing,
Mhm.
and I find that fascinating. I love history, any kind of history, really. Um, and so I get to look into a lot of the history there. And it just, I'm not necessarily a believer in all the supernatural stuff. I mean, I think it's
Sure.
interesting and entertaining, but not
Mhm.
necessarily true, if that makes sense.
Right.
But I went to the one witch store in Salem, and it was that I really, really loved. It was called, I'm trying to look for the name, Crowhaven Corner. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Crowhaven Corner. And I guess it's the oldest witch shop in Salem.
Okay.
It's a big purple house on the corner. And I don't know, I found it inspiring.
Mhm.
So when I left Salem, actually, I think before I left Salem, I started working on it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
just like with the diary, the
Mhm.
diary, because I had the journal, it kind of gave me an outline of
Sure.
events. So
Mhm.
that's what got me over, how do I get started? You know what I'm saying? It got me over
Right.
that initial hump that I could never get over before.
Mhm.
And then, of course, with this amulets for Salem, I had the outline of the real history. So there's a lot of historical information that's accurate in the book, but the main characters that I weave around that story are
Mhm.
fictional. So it's kind of like an outline there too. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so that's how it worked for me.
That's so great. You have such a great marriage of analytical and creative mind. And so that had to be so beneficial. And so I always say that there's two types of writers. There's plotters and there's pantsers, so the plotters, of course, they outline, they have everything lined up and ready, and they love to research and do all of those things. And the pantsers, like me, just sit down and write. And it's, easier process in one way, a much more difficult process on the other end of it when you go to do the editing and stuff like that,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
there's really so much more work to do because you're just
Free
free
writing. You're
forming, yeah,
talking
free writing
answers.
basically. And but for you've got both, like, in like, probably it sounds like a really perfect balance. So did it make the writing process for you easier to have the kind of brain that you have?
I never thought of it the way you just explained it, but I would
Mhm.
say that is a pretty accurate description because I
Yeah.
do get the what did you call the first one? Plotter.
A plotter. Yeah.
I do that from the scientific background I have.
Hmm.
But really, uh, my imagination took over with, the story after I had the outline and like
Sure.
it came out, it's almost like sometimes I remember not can't wait till I sit down to start writing to see what comes out of my head next. Just like
Yeah.
when you are
I
reading a
love
book,
that.
you can't put it down because you want to see
Yes.
what happens next. It was the same way.
Yes. Did you know right from the beginning that it was going to be a multi-book series?
No,
No.
no. But I didn't want the story to end because I
Yeah.
was waiting to see what would happen next.
Yes. Yes, I
And
totally get that. Everyone, all the writers in the room are nodding their head yes. Like, we all get that completely. So there's 3 books right now, and there's more coming, yes?
yes, there's
Okay.
3 on Amazon. And what it is, this is her amulets was the main thing she used in Salem to
Mhm,
save witches. And of course, that's where it is. The second
mhm.
book, she used more talisman. So it's talisman in Andover. And Andover did have witch trials. So, of course, there was a historical background in that book.
Wow.
The third one was potions in Norfolk. And of
Mhm.
course, I mean, none of them were as large as Salem. Salem is the most
Right.
well known because it was the most people. And I substituted 3 characters, 3 people that were actually hung
Mhm.
for my 3 fictional characters.
Oh, wow.
So it's, I'm actually it was 2 that were hung. So
Yeah.
there were 18 true stories in there as far as what happened to them. But I mean, that's
Mhm.
not the main point of the book. I don't focus on the death.
Sure.
Um, and the 2 that were hung fictional, they replaced 2 that were really hung. But the same number
Okay.
of people that died there at that time is the same.
Mm.
So um, it's really a story about like the girl is a witch, but
Mhm.
they're more like herbalists. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
And I mean, it gets a little bit more witchy as the series goes on because it just organically happens that way to keep the
Sure.
story going.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
And
fiction. You get to do whatever you want.
it's fiction. You can explain anything away. So it was, and I got to research the history, which of course I love, and I will pick up stuff or buy stuff or whatever and I'm like, that's pretty interesting. Let me incorporate in that story. So all that stuff is interesting.
Yeah, I love all the aspects of this. I particularly, I love the historical nods throughout it. That it's very
Mhm.
historical based. Is the setting of this story present day, or is it set in the past,
In the past,
or
during the
is it
Salem witch
okay?
trials.
Okay, it's set during then. Okay, I wasn't sure if
Mhm.
it was like a like revisiting at different points, or I get it. Thank you. um, so for you, what has been the most challenging part of your writing process?
um, I have to learn patience. I've never been
Mm,
really good with that. But I can't say it's really been challenging too much because it's been like a hobby.
yeah.
Because I
Mhm.
have or maybe just finding the right time. I live on a farm in Texas.
Oh, nice.
So there's animals and stuff I take care of. On the side, I do wildlife rehabilitator.
Oh.
So people will bring injured animals and I care for them until they can survive on their own. And then I let them go.
So I'll be at your place in about 24 hours.
Right.
I'm going to come hang out with you. So
It's,
just
it's, it's
if
a
you see
thing.
some
It's
blonde
nice.
lady knocking on your door,
Right.
it's just me.
So yeah, no. Right now I'm a little slim. I don't do as much as I used to when my mom got sick. She had
Mhm.
dementia. I brought her down to Texas, her and my dad, and I helped take care of them.
Mm,
And uh, I really backed off doing the wildlife. I mean, I'm getting back into it, but I'm just not doing as much. Right
yeah.
now, I have an owl,
That's so cool.
and owls are cool.
That is, oh my goodness. I'm so envious. You're living my dream life right now.
It is a dream life. It's just not, as long as you are okay getting dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I'm totally good with that. Tell me about who influences you as a writer? Do you have like a big influence?
Absolutely. I love Stephen King.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love the way he connects his books.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. And he doesn't, at least the books that I read, he doesn't focus necessarily on the gore. And that was what I was getting to. It doesn't focus on the deaths of the gore. It focuses, it's about a girl whose parents mother and grandmother were brought into that. They actually tried to escape the witch trials from Europe and go to Salem to get away. Bad choice.
Right.
And so I don't focus on the deaths, but it's more about, and she saves girls who are accused, not girls, but girls and men who are accused of witchcraft who are not witches. So it's really a different take. It's about a witch who basically saves non-witches from the witch trials. So I would say Anne Rice is my other one. I love those series and how they connect them. So wherever I go with this, I'm going to try to be like that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I grew up being such an avid reader, and I feel like I subconsciously like dog-eared so many different writers that I was like, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. And I kept them in mind as I wrote. And of course, certain styles of writing, if not necessarily a specific author, but a certain style of writing. Tell me a little bit about if you had a particular bit of advice to give to someone who wants to start writing, no matter what their age is. I know you're, you know what, I would even say particularly a younger generation, since that is kind of who you speak to now in your day-to-day work life. What advice would you give them to write?
I don't think it would be anything unusual. I think it would be something that everyone would advise, like, don't give up. If they're having trouble getting started, really what helped me was finding something that had a basic outline to it already. And then it's easier to create a story around it.
Yeah.
I admire Stephen King because I think everything comes out of his head and I can't take that credit. I needed something to start with.
There's always something that sparks it, though. There's always a spark, and a lot of times it's something odd, right? And I probably the catch is to just go ahead and go with it instead of dismissing it, right?
Right. Yeah. The spark, I guess, was wanting to help parents get through tragedy, I suppose. I don't even know how. God, I hope I never have to live through something like that.
Yeah. Awful experience. And I have no doubt that is a book that will bring some comfort and understanding, probably. A lot of understanding, because you touched on something earlier that you couldn't fathom, you couldn't imagine what could be going through their heads to make them feel that that's the only answer, right? And and I fall into that same category that I can't fathom. And I think particularly our generation, we do have a harder time understanding the pressures that they face and that they deal with, because they're so different than what ours were, and it's a different mindset. It's just simply different. So it's like impossible for us to understand, and I think getting the kind of insight, what a tragic way, of course, to get this kind of insight. But again, you took it and used it for good. And I think that's such a treasure and a gift to be able to do. And it makes, something tragic happen not for nothing. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I hope so. If it helps somebody, then it was definitely worth it. I really hope so, because it's just such an awful thing. And the kids are just different. They're just different. And nowadays, the way we were raised and even how we talked to teachers and the type of relationship between a teacher and a student back then is not what works today.
Right. That's so true. So true. Well, I'm so excited to see all of the things you're going to be doing. I know you're not nearly done writing. So you have books 4 and 5 in the works, or are they already done?
Well, I finished book 4 of the Witch series, which is my 5th book. But the publishers are, going through it and doing the editing process. And then I'm not quite halfway through the next book after that.
That's so exciting. Do you have ideas for other books, or other books kind of like started in the background?
I do. I was thinking for a long time to do like a prequel of their ancestors in Europe in the 1600s. And then man, a couple weeks ago, I had this vivid dream. And I remember waking up, that would make an incredible story. But I didn't sit down and write it down right away like Mary Shelley did. Because my dad was visiting from New York. And so I put everything off to spend time with him. And then the other part of my head was thinking maybe I should write something like I did with Voices in My Head. It came to my mom and dementia. I gotta, people can surprise you. I remember, my mom ended up falling and my dad calling at night, telling me, worrying that this was it. The ambulance and stuff. And I flew up there and I was there in 24 hours. And she got taken to the hospital. And she was in the hospital for like 10 days, I think 10 days. And I flew up there and I helped him with everything because he just was unfunctional.
Yeah.
He was 85 at the time.
Oh.
84, I don't remember. 84, I think he's 85 now. And so he just didn't know how to deal with anything. My mom took care of him. They were the traditional parents. And, then she went into rehabilitation because she couldn't walk because she was in bed.
Okay. Yeah.
And I flew back up then to bring them both down to Texas so I could help my dad. He couldn't handle her by himself. And actually, one of my former students who graduated took care of my mom for 5 hours a day. I paid her. And she did a wonderful job. And my mom was with us for additional 5 months. And but on my plane ride down here, she did not do well on the plane. She was pretty far along with the dementia. So sitting there that long, she doesn't understand. She doesn't know where she's going. She got a little difficult. And I'm sure we were a bit disruptive, although between me and my dad, we could handle her and calm her down pretty good. And I asked the stewardess, do you mind if you hold everyone and let me get her off the plane first? Because she's, the medicine isn't working anymore. We got her sleeping medicine. And she goes, well, all I can do is ask the people if they're okay with that. I'm like, well, okay. And I was not sure everything was going to go okay. And she got on the thing and just says, we have a passenger who ran out of her medicine and wants to see if we can get her off first. And every single person on that plane was patient and cooperative, supportive. I even had one want to help us all the way. He says, like, my mom had to go to the bathroom. I'll wait. I'll take you to the next. And I'm like, no, I'm fine, but thank you so much for helping me get her off.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. She couldn't walk hardly. Too. So it was
one of those faith and humanity moments, right?
One of those things that almost make you cry. That how wonderful people can actually be.
They can be. We tend to forget that in this day and age, that there is so much good and kindness all around us all the time. And that's what we try and focus on, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. And I think dementia has touched so many lives nowadays.
Absolutely.
I don't understand. Well, we're living longer. That's probably part of it.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I bet we could sit and theorize about that quite a bit for sure. Well, if you write that, I know that there are so many people that will find a lot of value in that. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that you do. But I know there's a lot on the list, and I totally get that. If you could you tell everybody where they can find your books? If you're doing, I don't know if you're doing any book events in person anywhere, but if you are more than free to share that if you'd like, but wherever they can find you.
I know I'm going to have a book event coming up. I just don't know when, because Kevin, who is part of the publishers, is going to set that up for me. Awesome. But right now the books are on Amazon. And the big thing is like Voices in My Head is a pretty common title. You have to put Lisa Clark after it to find this book. And then it's Amulets for Salem. And you got to actually put the title in there, but the last name is kind of complicated. But
no worries.
Books.
Yeah. And I will make sure, guys, as always, I will put the links to the books in the show notes. You guys will be able to click right on it. It'll take you right to the exact books in Amazon. So nobody panic. I know I didn't put the name up on there for the last name for you to spell it out or destroy it like I did right at the top of the show.
And actually, that's my middle name now because it was my daddy's name. And
that's so sweet.
I wanted to keep my daddy's name.
I love that. I love all of the sentimental nods, the quiet little nods that you do. They're so sweet. I love that.
And then I had the courage to marry another Polish man. My last name is actually longer than this name.
It was like a competition for you. You just wanted to see if you could.
So I have 4 Z's in my name.
That is more Z's than most people have any. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. Jody Ann, thank you so, so much for coming on today and sharing your story and your books and everything. And they sound phenomenal and so, so interesting. So thank you again for joining me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, my friends, thank you all so much for watching. We will catch you in the next episode.
You've got a story worth sharing. Now it's time to tell it well. Whether you're an author, entrepreneur, influencer, or podcast guest, stepping in front of the camera or microphone can feel overwhelming. On the other side of the mic is your practical, encouraging guide to becoming a confident, authentic, and engaging interviewee. Written by media personality and best-selling author Elsa Kurt, this book blends real-world wisdom from hundreds of interviews with a touch of humor, grace, and heart. It's more than a how-to. It's a roadmap to presence, professionalism, and peace in every conversation.